Hello, everyone, and welcome to our speaker series. I am Debbie Levine with the NCGR Florida Atlantic Chapter, and I am joined today with Andrea Gehrz, who is our upcoming speaker. She's our upcoming speaker and will be joining us on October 19th. And the best part about it, I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm not even going to wait to the end, is that you can watch this, you can join her anywhere because we are going to be doing this live on Zoom, So without further ado, let me introduce you to Andrea, and let's first start out by telling us a little bit about yourself. Although
Sure.
wait, before you do, I went so fast. My Mercury and Aries, so fast. I forgot to tell everybody what you're coming to talk about. So let me tell them that first to get them excited. So Andrea is going to be joining us, and she is going to be talking about astrological remediation. If you've never heard of this, it is fascinating. When I tell you it is fascinating, like everybody needs this because all of us have some hard aspect in our own personal charts that we're just like, ugh, how do I deal with this? Or we might be, have clients that have hard aspects and we're trying to like give them hope and give them a solution. And so you're definitely going to want to learn more about what astrological remediation is. And we're going to talk all about that at the end. But before we do, or I should say soon, before we do, let's meet Andrea. Andrea, so nice to have you.
Hi. Well, my name is Andrea. I've been an astrologer for 25 years, and that means reading charts. A few years ago, I purged about 4 feet of charts, and that was just some of my charts from readings. Now in my old age, I do a lot more astrological education, teaching big groups of people so that I can teach people how to do what I've learned to do over 25 years. My journey started out with when I found astrology. I felt as though I'd known it in a past life or what have you. I just thought, oh, there it is. Finally. Oh, I lost my star earring. Must be a good omen. Uh, but
I
uh,
love
but
those.
so in middle school, I was always really good at geometry. I think I had 108% in geometry. So I think that was some precursor to, astrology because the angles in the chart just make sense to me. So I ended up going to Kepler College for Astrological Arts and Sciences. When we used to meet in Seattle, it was a little bit different than Kepler is now. And there I learned about these ancient Greek translations that people were working on. And I'd been a sign language interpreter for 15 years at that time. And so I thought, I could help with this endeavor. So I went and I learned ancient Greek and Latin at Portland State University. And I ended up translating several ancient Greek texts. Here's a cover from the Vettius Valens anthology. We did all 9 books of the Vettius Valens anthology. You're probably wondering why there's no writing on the text. These were actually protected by a sacred oath, and so the best thing we could do was to make them unavailable to the uninitiated by making them very hard to find. So that's what this is. But it went in translating these ancient Greek books. What I realized is they're very scary and fate-based. A lot of the Hellenistic astrologers enjoy being scared by their fate-based charts. But I couldn't alter the translations, but what I could do is write a response text, which is what do we do if everything's fate-based in the chart, which I love about Hellenistic because it really looks at what is really in here. And there's a reason that they were fate-based. They were looking at what is this growing into, what is this chart good for, essentially. And there's a whole ancient philosophy called teleology, which that was built on it, which I do adhere to actually, even in astrological remediation. But what I will say is that the response text was this one, Astrological Remediation, a guide for the modern practitioner. And what this book says is whatever you find in your fated chart, you can absolutely work with, enjoy, endeavor to thrive upon, So you know, I find that happy astrologers know remediation because nothing in a chart bothers them. They can happily read charts for babies and older people, knowing that if there is something hard in the chart, there's always a solution.
I love that. I love that. So maybe can you tell us a little bit about the solution, this astrological remediation? What exactly is that?
Mhm. Well, I would say first of all, astrology at its best is probably a technical philosophy. It can be used scientifically, it can be used in all kinds of ways, but if we look at it as a philosophy, then what remediation is a tweak in our thinking. You know, it's just saying, how can we think of this in a way that is helpful? So a lot of what I do is work with people who can already read natal charts and transits to help them figure out now what to do. What do I do with that information? So it's philosophy, honestly. Although there is a lot of, depending on who you are, no, every remediation artist is different. The only key to being an astrological remediation artist is knowing how to use astrology to help and heal in any case. Now, some people, though, are accountants and astrologers, and maybe they heal people with financial freedom. Maybe if you're a medical doctor and an astrologer, maybe you look at medical issues in astrologically. If you're a
Oh,
musician, maybe you heal people with music. But really, the crux of it is are you trying to help or heal in any case? And then the modality can be anything. Yeah. But I personally, I actually do take medical cases. I'm not a doctor, although I can seem to fix things that doctors can't figure out. And I do medical, I do a lot of psychological, I deal with people's manifestation and dreams.
mm,
Basically, but a lot of what I do is I take the hardest cases. We might see a chart with a Moon, Saturn, Uranus, Pluto, Mars square or something like that. And, the person knows their chart. They know they have this hard aspect. They're living out the hard aspect one transit at a time. And they get sent to me, and I help them learn how to deal with those manias, the manias that come in on the transits to it. We look at timing. How often does this mania get triggered? I call it a mania because, what else
right.
breeds manias than transits, really? And so, I help the person with timing. I would say this square comes out once a week, or Mars is going to hit it at these times this year, and what can we do that might feel good on those transits instead of feel bad? And so there's a lot to the process of remediation, but it can be anything where we try to help something hard in a chart by any means necessary.
I mean, awareness, right? Awareness is power. And it's so true. I'm sure many listening who have read charts for people or have had people come to them. People come to me all the time, like, I'm doomed. Because they read this, they Google, right? They, Google land. And they come back and they're like, I'm doomed, my sun is square Mars, or this is that. I'm like, Saturn's on my sun. I'm like, I live with Saturn on my sun. Just make friends with them. Um, so yeah, so this is great. Um, would you mind sharing maybe some examples, maybe a success story of
Yeah.
how you were able to use something in someone's chart, right, to help them remediate the situation?
Okay, well, you'd brought up a really good example right before we recorded, and I'll use that one first because it's so tangible and concrete. One time we had a physical ailment. We had and I say we because for a lot of physical ailments, I work with a massage therapist, who's an astrokinesiologist, and we work as a team because I don't actually I don't lay my hands on people because I'm not a massage therapist, but I'm a theoretician, so I'll tell them, okay, these are the things we might want to try, and then they'll put their theoretics on it too. But this was a person who had a Mars Saturn conjunction in Gemini, it was exact. And I remember transiting Saturn was in Sagittarius opposing it. So it was under great stress, and their jaw locked up. And if anyone knows a little medical astrology, Mars, wherever the line is, the body system, Gemini rules the throat chakra, the arms and hands, the throat, and that Mars can send inflammation through that part of the body. So they were getting all this inflammation in the throat and jaw, and then Saturn can tense up a certain part of the body. So what we get with Mars and Saturn is blocked inflammation or trapped inflammation. A lot of arthritis has come in with Mars Saturn, or chronic fibromyalgias, or chronic pain things. So it was just trapped inflammation right in the jaw. The person was being set up to have surgery where they were going to cut the ligament in the jaw because nothing
Oh,
was working. And we did not want that to happen. We thought that was not necessarily, we wanted to get to the root of the issue. So what we know is that the Saturn will sit in the spine of a person, and we just know this from years of research. There's a book, Astral Somatica. If you want to know more about this, there's a book called Astral Somatica by Casey Cardoso.
oh,
Um, and this is astrokinesiology, but we wrote it all into a book. Anyway, but we knew that the fascia, the connective tissue back at the spinal root gets really tight where Saturn is. So what we decided to do is to go back into the spinal root and release all that fascia. So the massage therapist did all this fascial reconstruction and does this thing they call astro tapping, where they take a little tool and they tap out the all the connective tissue that where it connects to the spinal column. And so we
Oh, wow.
tapped it all out and the person's jaw relaxed and they were able to move their jaw, and we avoided surgery with that one. So that was an example of physical astrological remediation.
That's amazing.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, the
Amazing.
things we've healed are actually quite amazing. Sorry, were you gonna say something?
No, no, no. Keep going. I love these stories.
Okay. Another one that's very different is I had a client who had hallucinations. She had a Mercury square Neptune issue. And as you're saying like, wait, you're going from physical to hallucinations? Well, astrologers deal with anything and everything that ever bothered mankind. I mean, and that's what's fun about the job is we get the weirdest different cases you could ever. It's like being what are those doctors who do everything? A generalist? Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so she was a Mercury square Neptune, and she would have transits to that, and she could see spirits coming in and out and not knowing what was real and what was not. And she was about to go on benzodiazepine, which was some anti-psych med. And so what we started doing was channeling her visions into art on transits to that square. So, we said, okay, if you're going to be visioning, let's not judge it, is it real or not, but let's take that vision and make art out of it so that other people can see what you're visioning, number one, and you can actually have an outlet for what you're seeing. And she started to realize that these visions had a purpose, that they were for her to be an artist. And so she started making art, and I've worked with her for 10, 15 years. We do all kinds of things with her chart. Like she likes to vision. She has, I mean, the thing with a visioning square like that is, pathologically, you could call it schizophrenia, which astrological remediation people don't really diagnose. There's actually a chapter in here called astrological diagnosis. And we don't say like you are schizophrenic. We say you have surging vision squares or something like that. But so she actually likes to vision. And so sometimes she likes to do things like ayahuascas and things like that, where we'll time those to her chart and we'd say, okay, let's vision when your chart's visioning. And so she's very comfortable with her vision nature after these 15 years of working together. It no longer scares her, and she just knows it comes in on transits. It's almost like vision manias, right? And so, yeah, she's become an artist from that process.
Wow.
Do
I
you
mean, these
want?
are like great, these are like great stories for like making lemonade out of lemons, right?
Yeah.
Now,
Well,
like,
well, according to teleology theory, which is the theory of things becoming themselves, which Hellenistic astrology was actually based on, um, nothing is a detriment unless it's expected to be something else. And in fact, we are perfect, built by the gods to do certain things. Like a shaman needs to vision, right? And somebody with a Mars Saturn conjunction Gemini needs to be an aggressive editor of language, whatever that means. So like, yeah, there's physical repercussions, but that person's also really, when they listen to you talk and they're in one of these moods, they are really like, oh, I don't know if they're an editor basically.
right,
So we actually look at it even further and say there's actually a reason you're built this way. It's not just lemons. It's like your machine's a little out of balance, but you are actually functioning just as you were made to.
right, right. I love that. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. And was there another story you wanted to share? I don't know why you had.
Oh, sure. You asked me to share three, so I wrote another one down too, which is, so what if we have the case of bulimia? Here's another one. This was a Moon Venus Jupiter conjunction in Taurus,
Ah,
right? Think
yummy.
about that, right?
I think
Um,
of that. Let's eat.
exactly, right? And so binging is just an extreme version of let's eat, right? And so, the Moon, Jupiter, Venus, and Taurus makes a lot of great sensory receptors in the ear, nose, and throat where, when we binge, it's like, oh, it tastes good. It tastes so good. It tastes so good, and that this person just, things tasted more epic to this person than anyone I've ever met. I mean, their flavor receptors were off the hook. And so they would get transits to this, and it's just like, oh, I gotta taste this, I gotta taste this, I gotta taste this. And then the purging comes from, I had a mania and I couldn't stop, and now I'm full and I'm uncomfortable, you know? So
Oh yeah.
that with the Jupiter problems like that, we kind of do a transmutation of the energy, and we say, what can we do to stimulate the ear, nose, and throat that's not eating, you know? So we
Mm.
worked on making lists of things, you know, like flower arranging, smelling perfumes, you know, aromatherapy, you know, can you binge on healthy foods? You know, like, so, I mean, was there one remedy for that? That was lists and lists and working with them one transit at a time. Like, you know, okay, on this transit, can you figure out what feels good? Like, we start with a process of kind of fading it out, like just letting the transits run through and say, okay, you're binging. Okay, now if we run the transit, can we figure out what else feels good other than binging? Then we start running the transits and trying those new activities instead. So that was a kind of slow transfer process with that one.
Yeah, I'm glad you shared that because I know in today's world everybody expects like instant, right? Instant gratification and instant change. And so I think it's important that people understand like this is a process, right? You got to figure out which remediation is going to work, best to solve this. And solve it based on the transits, right? Because it's getting triggered, right? These the transiting planets are triggering this natal aspect. And depending upon which planet is triggering it, might change what the remediation is, right? What the solution is.
Absolutely. Astrologers are experts in cyclical issues. Like
Yeah.
bulimia is a cyclical issue. Hallucinations are a cyclical issue. And so that's where they can stymie people. Oh, I thought I was over these hallucinations. Well, we're like, oh, well, the planets just weren't really hitting that for a while. And so, absolutely. I mean, I think that's one of our gifts is the ability to wait for months and months and then be like, and here it comes, you know, and we're not surprised by the cyclicality of things as a lot of people are. So, but you're right, it's not an instant fix. And my favorite thing to do is work with people for a year or two on their chart. You know, if we can really work together for that long, then all you can be flying in your chart by the end of 2 years, really, of knowing what you like to do with each uh, piece of your puzzle, essentially.
Right. Oh, I love that. I love that, right? It's like you can't lose. You want to lose 10 pounds. You can't lose it in a day, right? It's a process, right? And you try different things. Oh, when I didn't eat carbs, I was losing, but when I did this, right? So it's like the same type of like concept for people that are trying to like connect this together. But
Mm,
again, it all comes down to awareness and knowing that you have the key is that they have the power, right? The the medicine is in the chart, like the disease or whatever the pain is that people are causing, their solution is there too. It's just working, right? Working through this process that you're describing.
mm.
So
Yeah.
can you tell us, so for those that are interested in joining us on October 19th, what should we expect? What will you be taking us through? Because we're going to be meeting for quite some time. And so what should we expect?
Is the class 5 hours long? It's
I think it's from 12. I think it is. I think it's 12 to 5
or 12
with
to
a break.
6. 12, I
12
think
to
it's
6,
12 to 6.
12 to 6 with a break. Oh, I have it
Okay.
actually right here because I have the Facebook thing up. Yeah. I think it's 12 to 6. But
Okay. So
yeah, with the break. And I
okay. So
know,
it's about
yeah.
okay, it's about 5 hours of content. Okay, so yeah, so in that case, what we're going to do is we're going to start with an introduction to astrological remediation. Now, I do use slides to keep us on track and, you know, have imagery, but I'm not a big PowerPoint teacher. I'm a Socratic professor, which is means that we learn through questioning and dialogue and discussion. So, will you be sitting there listening to me talk at you for 5 hours? Absolutely not. I will, you know, provide almost like a lecture, not lecture, but I have slides with imagery, and then there'll be a discussion slide. So, you know, we might say, you know, here's gem remedies. Now, discussion, how would you remedy XYZ with, you know, so be prepared to be involved if you want to. Of course, you can sit camera off, but prepare to learn through questioning and dialogue. What we will learn is an introduction to remediation. What is it? How to approach, there's something called the proving phase, which we'll learn about there. We will learn about astrological diagnosis, how to isolate the planet that needs a remedy. We will go into certain methodologies, like using composites and synastry as remedies, gem
Mm.
remedies, astrally timed information. Um, we will look at the planets and signs and houses in remedy and aspects in remedy. So really, I'm going to try to give you, I will be teaching at Kepler soon, and I'm going to try to do a kind of modified class so that we get kind of the gist of what I'll be teaching. It won't be the same class. I would never teach the same class twice, but it'll be kind of the gist of, introduction to astrological remediation. This is how
Right.
you do it, and these are certain, it's like theory and methodology essentially. So,
Okay, and they should bring their charts with them, right? If they have their chart, they should bring their chart.
absolutely. For this group, I was thinking if you guys allow it, we should use charts from the group if people are comfortable, because that's the best way to learn.
Okay, perfect.
At the beginning, we'll say, is there something you want to remedy in your chart? And then we'll follow along with that through the whole duration of the class.
Oh, great. All right, so you guys heard it. Looking for volunteers here for people. That's awesome. And when you're going through the class, you're going to be referencing some of your material in your book. You showed them your book before, but could you hold it up one more time for them? It's the astrological remediation. I already have my order in. You could get it on Amazon.
Yeah.
So it's great. It's great to have again. I mean, those are the books. It's not like you're going to maybe read cover to cover, but through the topic, you'll hear and you're referencing stuff through her chapters. And so you'll be able to have that as something to, guide you after our workshop, but also you could get a little head start. Right?
Yeah, and what I will say about the book, you can also get a PDF copy from me if the PDF copies are about half the price of this one. PDFs are
Oh.
16.95. This is about 30 bucks. But I will say, and you just email me to get one of those. But I will say this is a textbook. Now people always think they're going to get this book and read it overnight. It's 340 pages. Um, but it's definitely the kind of book where you read a chapter, you work on it for a week or two, then you read another chapter and work on it, just like a college course. Um, at my school, the Moyer Press, we meet every Tuesday from 5:30 to 6:30, and we have a reading group for this book, and we read and have class essentially, and students read the whole book with us. It takes about a year, and we discuss every page, and they love that. So, don't think that this is the kind of book you just buy and then just read real quick. It's the kind of book you refer back to. There's, the planets section you definitely would refer back to. I use this in readings all the time. If someone has a Saturn problem, I'll actually open up the Saturn page because it says, what are the Saturn problems? What are their emotional remedies, physical remedies? So, it's actually a reference book also. So yeah, but yeah, getting
Oh,
to read it beforehand would be great.
oh, that's awesome. I love it. Reference guides are my favorite thing. Like, there's so much information we could keep in our heads. We're just
Yeah.
gonna like library it. So okay, so that is so exciting. So we're gonna come together. We're gonna learn some of the basics about astrological remediation. We're gonna get real live examples through charts. You're gonna give us some examples of things we could do because I heard you mention like crystals and other types of things that people can use. It's not always about like the massage or this or that. Like there's some other things that we can, other ways that they could do, like implement after the workshop, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I would say let's break it down to its theory and methodology. So we'll be starting with theory. How do we look at this? How do we approach a chart? And then what are a bunch of methods you can use to remedy already? You don't have to be a trained massage therapist. There's something called scope of practice, which is you have your scope of what you do, and that's very legitimate. So you could say, I learned kind of what massage therapists would do, but I don't do that. But you could always get on the phone with a massage therapist as a theoretician, and you could suggest X, Y, and Z. And that, so I think you'll leave the workshop with several ways to begin offering remedies. Gems are one of the fun ones. I mean, everyone should learn gem remedy. It's so fun. But it's,
I love
yeah,
I'm a gemstone girl. I always got something going on, whether I'm wearing my bracelet or it's in my pocket,
nice.
my bra.
Well, that's a good placement for certain chakras. You
Yeah.
know, we'll definitely look at different placement for the gems depending
Oh,
on.
I love that. I love that. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. I'm so excited. Is there anything else that you want to share with our audience about yourself or our upcoming workshop or
Um, well, I just want to say that I know 5 hours is a long time, but I'm aware of the length, and I will absolutely be working with you all in a way that keeps you engaged, makes you feel heard. I want to hear from you. This will be a workshop, it's not a lecture. And this is something you can learn. I know it seems big, but I will tell you that when my students learn remediation, they become happy astrologers. Never let astrology stress you out. Have you ever had the experience of sitting there thinking about a chart? What am I going to do about this T-square? What am I going to do about this T-square? After this workshop, you're going to be able to relax and say, here are 20 things I'm going to do with this T-square. And I hope that that is something that appeals to you. And yeah, we'll have a ball. And if you ever want to come learn more, you can come to the Moyer Press School, where I teach remediation weekly on Tuesdays, like I said, and there's a bunch of us advanced astrologers who get together. So you're always welcome to come find us. And you can find me on Facebook at Andrea Gehrz, or you can find me at andreagehrz.com.
perfect? Awesome. I'm so excited. I can't wait to start working on remediating all those aspects that are gnawing at me.
Exactly.
All right, everybody. Thank you, Andrea. And for those of you that have not enrolled yet, it is not too late. Come join us on October 19th. This will be a virtual event that will be live on Zoom. It will be an interactive workshop. You heard Andrea say, like, the best way is to participate. This isn't a lecture, right? This is an interactive workshop. So bring your chart, bring your questions, and we will see you October 19th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.